Address the election issue, please.
Well, again, that's
It's the most important thing. It's what's happening.
It's yet another gotcha hypothetical, which is your specialty.
It's not. We had an executive order
under the Biden administration in 2024.
It's not a hypothetical. I refuse to accept. You give that answer all the time. You and I have done this dance before. Get over it, okay? In 2020, he's the president, your boss, the guy you're performing for right now, told the journalists this year that he wished he signed that executive order to your predecessor. And your predecessor said publicly, thank God, we didn't actually go forward with it. What are you going to do? You're the guy here in the seat. It's not hypothetical. Tell the American people, will you deploy the uniform military to our polls to collect voter rolls or machines?
Are you accusing me of performing? Because you're performing for cable news right now.
But
just
Mr.
answer the question.
It took a few tries, but Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth eventually answered Michigan Senator Elissa Slotkin's question about whether he would deploy troops to polling sites if the president ordered him to do so. Hegseth said that he, quote, has never been ordered to do anything illegal, and he wouldn't. Joining us now, Senator Elissa Slotkin of Michigan. She's a member of the Armed Services Committee. Senator, thank you for joining us. Did you find his answer convincing and adequate?
Well, look, I mean, he could have just saved everyone a lot of trouble and just said, I do not believe that we have a security threat that will ever require uniformed military to be deployed to our polls, and law enforcement can take care of something if there's a local threat. He could have done that in a calm way, and we would have moved on, right? There's lots of other issues, but I think his continued refusal to ever accept that he could be asked these things when his predecessors were asked by Trump to do the very thing, it just is not credible. And it continued kind of a theme throughout the hearing. You know, most of the questions was about the war in Iran or other things, and he kind of expected the American people to just pretend like they don't know that there's an issue, right? He said nothing's wrong, we're winning, it's all great, but the American public is driving by a gas station 20 times a day and seeing it's $4.99 for a gallon of gas. So it's kind of he lives in a little bit of a bubble, as if the American public is stupid somehow, and they're not.
So on that subject, the majority of the American people, 6 in 10 of Americans, say they don't support this war. The War Powers Act comes due tomorrow. Do you expect Congress to demand the president come to Congress so that you guys can vote on whether to continue this? And if he does not come, what recourse do you have? Yeah.
Well, look, we voted on today on, I think, the 12th or 14th War Powers resolution. We've been voting on these, and frankly, my Republican colleagues do not vote for them, and for the most part, and therefore there isn't accountability from one body over, you know, the executive branch. And my colleagues, again, they sort of have willfully given up the power that Congress was given in the Constitution, particularly on this issue. I mean, it's in the Constitution. So I'm not going to BS you. Like, I think whatever the 60-day clock says, my Republican colleagues have shown that they're not interested in being a check and balance on the president. So while the 60 days may be up, I don't think anything's going to change.
Which is why I think I was surprised, given all of that history, to see both chambers, or all Democrats and Republicans, stand up for the king when he talked about checks and balances in the Magna Carta. Let me ask you about the New York Times editorial board opinion today regarding American readiness and the weaknesses that have been exposed by this war. The title is U.S. military was losing its edge after Iran. Everyone knows it. Tactical success has not yielded victory. Mr. Trump's recklessness in conducting the war is one reason, but the problem is bigger than any single commander-in-chief. The United States has left itself unprepared for modern war. America has spent hundreds of billions of dollars on ships and planes that are good at defeating competitor ships and planes, but ineffective against cheaper, mass-produced weapons. The American economy does not have the industrial capacity to produce enough of the weapons and equipment it does need. And the country has struggled to fix these problems because of a sclerotic government and a consolidated defense industry that resists change. Do you agree with that assessment from the New York Times editorial board?
Well, that was a lot. I would just say, look, we know that while our military is doing an incredible job executing the orders they are given, that leadership of a war is about political leadership from the White House and from the Secretary of Defense. And it's a lot easier to get into a war than it is to get out, and we are living that. And I certainly lived that in 3 tours in Iraq alongside the military. I think that it is accurate, unfortunately, and it's painful, actually, for me to hear you read that out loud as someone who worked at the Pentagon and cares deeply and believes in a strong leadership role for the United States of America, that these cheap, commercially available tools that the Iranians are using, like these cheap drones, are defeating, the best military in the world. And we are going to have to we are grappling with that. We're bringing in Ukrainians to help us understand how to do counter drone operations. I mean, this is really unprecedented for the U.S. I think it's not that if we put our mind to it, we can't do things. It's that we have an overly bureaucratic, very slow, very traditional way of buying weapons in the military, and the world has moved on, and we're still using an old system. And that's a nonpartisan statement. Democrats had to deal with that. Republicans are having to deal with that. Until we understand that we need to be more nimble, we're going to have a problem. And I hate watching it play out on TV, but that is what's happening.
So do you expect Democrats and Republicans to try to put some parameters around this budget that the Pentagon is asking for next year, $1.4, $1.5 trillion? I mean, we're talking about commercially available weaponry that is putting up a good fight against our very high-grade military munitions. Do we need to spend that much money? And if we do, will it be spent correctly, smartly?
Yeah, I mean, certainly $1.4 billion trillion.
Yeah.
Trillion is just an astronomical amount of money, and we just gave them $1 trillion last year. So just as a basic good governance accountability thing, like, there's going to be a real conversation and opening up of the hood to understand what the heck they're spending this on, and whether they've spent money that we gave them last year. I mean, we had lots of reports that they're not even moving that money. So you better believe we're going to have a real conversation, and a bipartisan conversation, if I'm hearing my colleagues correctly. But I do think, whatever problems we have on this sort of low-level, commercially available stuff defeating our expensive systems, we also have kind of the fights of the future that we need to be, prepared for. AI, and who wins the AI race against China is a real race. Hypersonics, quantum. I mean, there's a ton of things that we need to be investing on now, real things that cost money, in order to be competitive and make sure that the Chinese don't dominate the next 100 years. So there are real costs. There are real things we need to spend money on. But when you provide a bill that big, it is, frankly, a requirement of this body to really just analyze that and understand it and press and prod.
All right, Senator Slotkin, excuse me for that. I appreciate you coming on. As always, wish we had a little bit more time. That is going to do it for me today. Deadline White House starts after a quick break.